We need to develop the constituency of peace. It exists. It is the largest group, I guarantee you. I have a very simple message, and that is, that when you come together in your Peace and Justice Committee to think creatively about ways to strengthen the muscles of the peace constituency. What does that mean? That means adding to the ranks. That means coming up with a peace agenda. An agenda that says, where are you on the issue of demanding that the president be a even-handed arbiter? Where are you on the issue, congressman or congresswoman, on the issue of conditionalizing aid on progress for peace? Where are you at on these critical issues that are going to move us forward? Are you in favor of building up our diplomacy budget? We need people who are going to say, where are you at on these critical issues? I would ask you to get yourselves into a group and say, what is the peace agenda that we would follow on issues of aid and appropriation, on points that we want the government to take? What are we willing to do? Are we willing to use the magic of the internet to find people in the region who are willing to partner with us and tell us what is absolutely necessary? There are Israelis and Palestinians throughout the Holy Land working together. Brian Baird and I were the first members of Congress to go to Gaza in over 3 years. And the people who are doing relief work there, you'd be so proud of them. I met a young woman from Breckenridge, Minnesota, who was working for the UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And she was, bright-eyed, compassionate, but she was very serious, and she had seen more wreckage of war than any person her age should have to see. And I want to let you know that when we went there, the trip didn't start in Gaza. It started in Doha, Qatar. And there, I was there for a conference, and some people asked, the State Department asked me to speak to a group of students there to just tell them about American democracy. And I thought I was going to talk to this group of teenage girls and tell them about, well, we have 3 branches of government in the United States. We have the legislative branch. We have this. This young lady said, Mr. Congressman, why does your country send so many weapons of war over to attack the Palestinians? This is what happened. Absolutely true. I tell this to every group that I talk to because I want them to know that when you think about, well, do people care about this issue? Absolutely they care about this issue. It's a concern across the globe. We went to East Jerusalem. We went to a hospital, West of Victoria, which is run by the Lutheran Church there. And as a matter of fact, while I was there, I had missed by about a few hours a doctor who works at Hennepin County Medical Center, but who spent several weeks in Augusta, Victoria. And people explained to us what he went through while he was there and what they, as Palestinians, go through on a daily basis, which is the checkpoints literally take hours for doctors and other medical professionals just to get from their home to their job. And as we went through the checkpoint in Gaza, we saw about several German aid workers who were trying to get in. When we came out at 4 o'clock, they were still there. As American members of Congress, we got through in 10 minutes. They sat there all day long, and it's often like that. When we went in there, we got through the checkpoint, and I've been to war zones before. I've been to Afghanistan, I've been to Iraq, I've seen 12-foot craters in buildings before. I've seen buildings that were 5-6 stories high, reduced to nothing but concrete and rebar. I've seen that, but this is worse than that. Because there wasn't only fresh damage, there was damage from the last conflict that hadn't been repaired even yet.
Congressman Ellison talked about that very small group in the middle that was working for peace, not for one side or the other side, but for peace. Well, I'm part of that very small group. We have a coalition of 22 national churches, including the United Methodist Church, Lutheran Church, and other mainstream Protestant churches. That includes the Catholic Church, the U.S. College of Catholic Bishops, 3 flavors of Orthodox churches, as well as peace churches, the Quakers, Mennonites, Church of the Brethren. And we've all been working together in a coalition for about 25 years to try to bring an end to this wretched conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Many of the churches on my board have activities in the region. Congressman Ellison mentioned the Lutheran Church. The Anglican Church also is very active there. The Catholic Church, I mentioned, has about 500 clergy who are priests and heads of schools. There's a very active Christian presence in Israel and in Palestine, particularly working with the Christian Palestinians. A lot of Americans don't realize there are a lot of Christian Palestinians. It used to be about 30% of the population of Jerusalem was Christian Palestinian. Today, that number has diminished greatly because of the conflict, because of the difficulty in living in that area. If people have the means to leave, many of them do. So one of our objectives, along with peace, is that peace will bring a better life for everybody, including the Christian Palestinians. In our work in Washington, although we're a coalition of churches, we're essentially a political advocacy organization. We advocate, we talk with members of Congress, with the House and the Senate, with the White House, with the National Security Council, with the State Department, urging strong U.S. leadership to bring peace and end this conflict. You'd think that, well, that's a no-brainer. Who's against peace? Everybody's for peace. But as the Congressman has just described, the conflict raises very strong emotions on both sides. And it also raises deep feelings of insecurity by many people, especially the people in Israel and people who sympathize very much with the Israeli people. I think most Americans, the overwhelming number of Americans, would say, yes, we're for the security of Israel. We want Israel to succeed, to be successful, to be secure, and live in the world like other nations. But it's been very difficult to do that in the Middle East because of this ongoing conflict. All these things have to be negotiated, and there has to be an agreement to negotiate them, and it has to be an agreement to really get there. Well, I think there's a very good chance that this is now going to start. Where does that leave us, and where does that leave you? The president can only go as far and as fast as the Congress will let him. And Congress will only go as far and fast as you will let him. That is, if public opinion supports a peace effort, if public opinion says, yes, we're for the security of Israel and we're for peace and the creation of an independent Palestinian state as the best guarantee of Israel's security and of U.S. interests in the Middle East, then I think the president has a scope to work on. So we work in Washington very closely with like-minded Jewish groups, Americans for Peace Now, Jewish human rights groups, Arab groups, Palestinian groups, all of whom share our view on the need for the two-state solution. But now we need support from everybody in the country who feels that this is an important issue. So we hope you will consider supporting the president on these things. This can be done with face-to-face meetings. Congressmen have meetings in their home districts. They also sometimes have time to meet you in Washington. I think the most effective lobbying is face-to-face meetings. But there are many other ways also. You can communicate through letters, faxes, and these days the easiest and fastest is the internet and email.
My point is, no piece of communication is ignored. Personally, the ambassador's right. In person is the strongest. Secondly, handwritten letters are actually pretty effective because it looks like you took the time to do it. But if you're busy and you just want to get your point across, do an email. I would say that the group that the ambassador represents is the most effective group lobbying for peace. I would say that it is a great group for you to plug and channel your energy into. I would say that they just give them more help. You know, they just need more people who care and are committed and are willing to do a little work around it.
I think one of the most effective transformational events for those who can do it is to go there to the region and to see what's going on. It is startling. It's hard to imagine. There are all these barriers that the congressman talked about, and to see that is really very often to motivate people to come back and do what they can to help.
Without your urgent advocacy for the peace, I don't think we can get it done.
I can't do any better than that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.